I've had my private practice for a few years, and with us, we've tried for a baby and I got pregnant, but that didn't go successfully. That's where, at the point of my life where I realized that all those escalates, such as masters of counseling, helping so many people, it's profound, but it's nothing when you cannot have something you desire the most. It's took us a few tries, I would say. It's been a journey. What I thought would be the end of my transition, of my story, it's only began when my son entered physically this life, our family, and then the motherhood came in, which gave birth to many changes in me, in our relationship with my husband and my career.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Meta Transitions. Today we have with us my friend and colleague, Karolina. Now, Karolina is a registered clinical counselor, and Karolina is going to tell you a bit more about herself when she shares her story. So stay tuned. We're so happy to have you, Karolina, with us.
I'm excited as well. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so to start off, tell us a little bit about you. What's your story?
Well, the brief introduction, I would say that, as you said, we went to school together, and I've had my private practice for a few years. And then when we decided, I would say, to have a baby, it took us a few tries, I would say. It's been a journey, and I think that's where my transition story, in a sense, began. So that's where, at the point of my life where I realized that all those escalates of my life, such as masters of counseling, helping so many people, it's profound, but it's nothing when you cannot have something you desire the most. And with us, we've tried for a baby and I got pregnant, but that didn't go successfully. And then it took us a few months, which sometimes can seem like a century, when there's negative experience, you know, of course. And finally, when that happened, it's been amazing. But for my mental health, I had to stop doing counseling, because my counseling areas of expertise, I'm not sure if you remember, were around a lot of sexual trauma.
Yes.
Sexual trauma, divorce, affair, and that's the choice of my liking. I love helping people finding their truth, their voice, themselves out of that darkness.
Yes.
But I realized that I was already in myself in a dark space, so I decided to take a break from counseling, and believe it or not, I became an insurance agent.
You know? Okay.
I was dealing with cars. I thought there is nothing sexier than a woman with expensive cars
Of
and
course.
expensive cars. So, and dressing up and being, just very relaxed and not being burdened by having your own private practice. You know yourself best, right? How challenging it can be. And what I thought would be the end of my transition, of my story, it's only began when my son entered physically this life, our family, and then the motherhood came in, which gave birth to many changes in me, in our relationship with my husband and my career, which I'm no longer doing one-on-one.
Yes.
And I do product development, as you've seen it on my social media, the product that I've created for kids. I called it My Feels, because it's all about emotional intelligence and all the things that I wish I knew when I was in my childhood that I didn't. And I had to spend years in therapy, searching for myself, making mistakes, making myself hurt even more in order to get to that other side of the door. And I thought, when my son came, is what could I do now because I can definitely lecture him on and on, but so far history shows lecturing and teaching and telling, all the books doesn't really do unless you sort of make your own mistakes.
Yeah.
And I've realized, and I actually want to probably address the women and men, and I should probably say moms and dads, different type of relationship could happen, that we want to protect our kids as much as we want, and we can, but they will do their own mistakes.
This is so true. Yes.
That was the things that I did that my parents don't know.
Of course, like we all have our little quirks, right?
Yes.
And little things that we do that we're looking back and we're like, oh yeah, we gave our parents help.
Yeah. And I think we also gave them some sleep by not knowing, what you're doing.
This is true.
So, and that sort of gave birth, after giving birth, gave birth to that idea of creating all the tools that we as therapists, psychotherapists, whatever name you want to put on it, give our clients to work on. I actually truly believe we should give them to children from early on. How you understand and translate and comprehend certain emotions. Let's say failure. I felt like myself is failure for the longest time in my life because I was trying to prove my parents that I was worthy of love and attention and whatnot, because they were very business oriented, so I didn't see them that often. But I realized that if I knew that failure is not something that kills your self-esteem, self-worth. In fact, failure is so exciting because every time I failed, including that, I would say, including that unsuccessful pregnancy, let's call it failure, I've learned so much from it. Yeah. That failure is no longer this, it happened to me, it happened for me.
That's a really interesting way of looking at it, right? Because there's so many women, and I can just sort of self-disclose too, in that I'm trying right now to have a baby, right? And experiencing some of the things that you're talking about. And, I don't know if I see it the way you see it right now, but I'm listening to your story, and it's giving me a little hope to at least say, you know what, at some point, maybe I'll see it this way too. And it's sort of that mindset maybe that, you're talking about, the shifts in the way that you're looking at your experiences. Instead of it being something that happened to you, you're thinking of a way to learn from the experiences.
And I think fertility and having a baby and wanting a baby is a whole new chapter that what I've realized in terms of spiritual growing, at least I'm going to speak for me, that me not having that child that left our family was just what I needed to be ready for my son.
Got it.
And because the mindset was shifted completely. I never wanted to have kids. Zero. I was one of those girls who's like, oh my God, kids kill sex, kill intimacy, kill everything. They take, because that's the childhood I have, and I never had a role model for anything otherwise. And I'm like, business, money, everywhere, airplanes, red carpets, everything. And even when we decided to have a baby, it still was there. Until that point where I realized that you want something or someone so bad that you truly can understand how bad you want it only by losing it.
Got it. You learned some lessons along the way regarding how you were looking at what was valuable to you, right? So it sounds like money, fame, wealth. That was sort of what was very valuable to you at that time.
Absolutely.
And you weren't thinking about babies. You were like, I don't want babies.
No.
But then you recognized that once you had a baby, you realized all the things that you went through in your childhood sort of just came back, and you were like, wow, those things, or going through those experiences, helped you to face what it is now that you need to face, which is to bring up this child, right, in a way that this child can now experience the life you didn't have.
Absolutely. And hopefully those tools that I've created for him, and that's how this all came together, that my fields, the emotional intelligence for kids, is that I wanted to give him a definition of emotion, meaning, again, we're going back to failure, that failure is a learning experience. That's something to get creative about. You can get angry about it, but let's use it for that anger towards determination, pushing forward, going forward, instead of going into that sadness, which is beautiful state, because I've been there, and occasionally sometimes I am with everything that is happening right now in the world. But sadness tells you, what I've learned is that to slow down and first reevaluate that whatever is happening, is it important? Because maybe you've got off track. And second, of course, is reach out for help, even if it's just talking to a stranger. And sometimes actually those serendipities of talking to a stranger is one of the most exhilarating experience, at least I've had, because there is no, I see him or her the last time and maybe never again. So those been very, very interesting parts of and chapters of my life that still unrolling. His 22. See, I don't even pay attention to that. 21, 22. We're taking one day by day. 22 months, and time is going on and running somewhere I don't even know. It's just escape. Escape my mind.
It's always, time flies when you're having fun.
And although I would say, is it fun? It doesn't feel like that. You should come over, and get some practice. And, it is fun. I think it's fun when you look at it as fun. And it's so hard, at least for me, I would say, occasionally it's very hard to get out of that mindset that I was raised with, even though I would call myself a professional in psychology, where I have all the tools. And that's why, again, it's so important. I have all the tools you can, with so many books, so many hours, practice, practicum, clients. And I still go to that darkness, to that anxiety, to that past, or to that future, worry, because I was not raised with all of those tools from the beginning, meaning what kind of tools I'm talking about? Well, grounding, right? We teach just touching something, feeling something to really connect with your body for something.
And being in the present,
In the present. What's the hallmark of CBT, for those people who don't know, cognitive behavioral therapy, is this idea, profound idea, that you can question your thoughts. That's the hallmark of that theory, pretty much approach, is that all thoughts good. I hate that word of bad. There is a reason why you have even those bad thoughts, but you don't have to believe them, And if I knew, and I was raised with that prerequisition and ideas early on, and they would be my second, when I wouldn't even automatic, Right now, I know where to go to the right. Often. Sometimes because I tell my husband, go to the right, and we have to go to the left. Women and lateral issues.
I know.
Maybe it was a bad experience.
I do it too.
So see my husband, I'm going to show it to him. I'm not the only one.
I totally do it.
That would be just their second nature. And I think we as a society, we should do more about caring and raising children, not worrying about IQ that much. What I was worried about, getting all the grades you can, because no one cares how much, what kind of grades I got at that diversity, counseling course.
It's true.
No one cares.
No, I hear you. So we could get all the accolades, we could get all the status, and we can get, all the instruction that we can get. But I think what I'm hearing from you is, being able to process emotions, understand them, and, have those basic fundamental tools is really important to be able to get through the day-to-day. And you're saying that you didn't have those. So even though you had the know-how and you could help others to get those coping tools, it was difficult for you to be able to do that, and you had to do your own processing to be able to get to a place now where you could create a product that's going to help young mothers and their babies to be able to get those tools from a young age. And it's called My Feels.
Yeah, My Feels. I was like, what else can you it's My Feelings. I hope my feels. So and when we put it on the board, it felt like the right word.
No, it sounds really good. My feels, like you're owning that these are my feelings. This is what I'm feeling right now. And I think it's a really great topic and a really great product. And I'm hoping at some point I will, wink, wink.
Wink, wink, yes.
We'll need this product too.
And the other side of it, it's interesting if you have experienced it at all. One of the markets that I'll be reaching out for this product will be obviously children, but another specialization of neurodivergent children who, let's say, children with autism on a spectrum, where they have difficulty processing emotions. Right, that's where the need is. But what I found very interesting is that when I started to reach out to behavioral specialists who actually deal with children, ABA, they called a behavioral specialist, they don't comprehend or introduce psychology or emotional parts, of that coaching into most of their teachings.
That is interesting.
Awe.
Especially for children on the autism spectrum.
Absolutely. Okay. I was reaching out to a few special, and in fact, I was talking in one particular woman, and I told her, okay, well, I did this test before we went to the print, where I showed to healthy adults based on self-disclosure, of course, 7 basic emotions that have been discovered or coined, I would say, by Paul Ekman. I'm not sure if you guys know. You can check him out. Paul Ekman, he was the guy who they consulted on the cartoon Inside Out.
Oh, I love that.
Inside, it's beautiful, yes, beautiful. Yes. Also, he was the guy who did this Lie to Me TV series. It's based on facial expressions.
Okay, I'm going to check that out, actually. That sounds like it's really good.
It is. He trains CIA and all of those FBI people to recognize deceit. And that's also what we used for our cards, the facial expressions that have to be accurate based on the different muscles you involve. Instead of teaching children, what I've realized, or looked at what else is available, let's say, out there, is they teach scenario. Let's say you spilled coffee, you feel embarrassed. And I was, no, let's backtrack. We already, by showing that picture that a girl spilled a coffee or juice, children don't drink coffee. Oh my God, see what kind of mother I am. Some people are thinking juice.
No worries, juice. Yes.
Juice, juice. We already conditioning children to think that this should cause an embarrassment or even shame or guilt. Who knows, right? And I said, let's remove that. Let's strip that from this unnecessary noise and just focus on the expression. So, and those facial expressions, you gotta check it out. It's really, really great. So I showed to that a specialist, shared the idea that 100 healthy adults look at the 7 basic emotions, and 95% of them got it wrong. Most of them, and guess what emotion most of the adults have hard time identifying is contempt. What most of you, I don't know if you know, Gottman, right, uses contempt as pretty much a guarantor.
Yes.
Divorce or not divorce. With 95% accuracy, right? And adults, is it anger, sad, everything but contempt. Isn't it?
That's quite interesting. The thing that could damage your relationship.
Immune system. He shows that, right, the partner who displays contempt towards another, in a way, somehow reduces the immune system of that person, of that partner, right? It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I think, based on what I'm hearing, if you're able to help children to recognize contempt, then they can grow up, with that emotional intelligence and that learning, so that they can, I guess, recognize it and counteract that from an early age.
Absolutely. And to those specialists, I said, hey, look. And most of them said, well, our children who we deal with can recognize this emotion, basic emotions, no problem. And I was in shock because healthy adults can't.
Mm-hmm.
How, children who have hard time processing. And that particular specialist said, well, it's 2D picture, it's nothing. And I've realized, and maybe this is a therapist in me talking of how negative. Can you imagine those little kids who in our society say what you say, there is equal opportunities and everything, there's not.
Yeah.
There's none. Not as much as they should have, the equal opportunity to everything in this life. Mm-hmm. And you're working as a specialist, right? You should believe them, in them more than anyone.
Yeah.
And when you discredit like this, saying that, it's easy for them, no, it's all about positivity. And that reminds me of the fields of, instead of working together, they so work apart. It's like psychology and behavioral specialists, all we care about as behavior. We psychologists sometimes, all we care about, some of them, right? It's this, and let's focus at client or as a child, as the center, because just because children have difficulty processing emotion doesn't make them scarce or free of their emotional world. Mm-hmm. And I think most of the behavioral issues I know myself are created in me by the emotions that have been unresolved, denied, suppressed, everything we do, right?
So you want to create a sense of liberation
Yes,
for
that's
that
good.
child, right? So that child who's going through whatever experience they're going through, for the adults to say, oh, you have this diagnosis that you have no capacity for emotions. Mm-hmm. So instead of putting sort of this, thing onto them, right? It's sort of saying, okay, we believe you have capacity, so we're going to work from that frame.
It's not even, we all have ability. It's just that it's different. And I know there are some challenges based on different diagnoses, let's say, but that shouldn't be the first thing we see.
Yeah, got it.
Or going back to what we even started, some women who I've had also in order of talking when I had my fetal pregnancy is who struggle with infertility. That shouldn't be what's on them.
Yeah.
The label. We are first human beings with so much soul and richness and beauty in us, outside of our age, nationality, race, our medical status, we are humans.
Yeah. So we're connecting, with people, human to human connection, and looking at people as people, rather than as this or that, right? We shouldn't be putting things on people, should be experiencing with them, and by experiencing with them and using the tools that you're going to provide, you're creating an atmosphere of openness and positivity, and then you're going to be able to help that child to get to where they need to get to by just starting where they are.
And it's more so what you just shared made me think about empathy. One of the there are different ingredients of emotional intelligence, and that's what they also professors been teaching us in psychology, right? Of how you go there through that defense mechanism to get to the soul of true you, right? And that's what I've been applying to myself going through that new stage of motherhood. There have been sleepless nights. There's been relationship, hanging by the thread because of the sleepless nights, hungry nights, whatnot. And something very profound that I've learned from our university, I forget who the teacher was, where we started talking about suicide, that exists more than ever today, right now, prevalent is, and that's what I've been even thinking to myself, that it's all temporary, everything is temporary. Sadness, emotional, those states, and just I keep reminding myself, no matter what kind of dark places we can go sometimes, is to understand that it's temporary, and plus it's in me, it's for myself, that it's all in my capacity to change how I feel. And what's been working for me is working out. And those blessings of being able to use my body, because an acquaintance of mine, things happened and she's been an athlete all her life, and that been taken away from her because of the physical ability. So now, to me, I cherish that every second. And when I have no motivation to work out, which, believe me, most than not, I'd rather sit on the couch and watch another rerun of something, which I don't have a luxury of doing that nowadays. It's all I have of TV is maybe 20 minutes every 2-3 days. But I've looked at all the blessings of that sort that I have, that helped me tremendously to keep my mind sane. Because what I've realized, that whenever my husband and I argue or fight, that little thing, that little human soaks up everything. And I'm in awe that some people think that just because someone is 6 months, 8 months, 20 months, that they don't understand anything, that they're dumb, they're not as aware.
Yes.
I personally think they are aware of more things than we are.
I know. So you don't believe in Roger's theory that they're born a blank slate?
No, absolutely. Well, I mean, in the sense that you can create and plant different scenes in the mind of that little child, sure, it's, but not in a sense of understanding, feeling, even though they cannot put a name on it. But that's our job as parents, to teach them.
Definitely. I was just pulling your leg. I was just pulling your leg.
And see, I still came out of it very nicely.
Yes. No. I completely agree with you. I think that children soak up everything. And having worked with, families that are being torn apart. So I've worked with families that are going through divorce and they have children. And I'm telling you, those children know and everything is happening. And they tell me, they're like, Mom thinks I don't know, but so and so is happening, and that and that and that's happening, and the parents are shocked a lot of times what the children know, because they're not necessarily telling them, but the children can feel it. It's like the atmosphere is different, right? So what you're saying makes total sense. We need to make sure that, whatever it is that you're doing around your child, you're creating sort of a sense of an atmosphere of care and love. And even if you fight, right, it's still sort of this idea of, are you making up, right?
Absolutely. And the interesting part, it's a must have in our relationship. And even though sometimes I don't want to do it, I don't want to be the first person to apologize, with all this pride and ego and everything. I realized that children, and at least, again, speaking for myself, I try to correct myself when I go into general terms, because we all like to share that responsibility with the world, but I like taking ownership of, of what's happening in my life. And so I want my son to see how we argue, because that's normal. Actually, a little tip for those couples who think, or for that partner who goes into the couple therapy and think, I'm going to say we don't fight at all. We don't fight. I don't know why we have those issues.
That's a total fantasy.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you don't fight, it's also a problem.
Yeah.
It's also a problem.
What are you holding on to? What are you not talking about?
Slipping, right?
Yep.
And so I want him to see, because it's a normal process. Kids fight all the time on the playground just because they share that or don't want to share that toy. But what's important is for him to see how mom and dad make up. And that's even more important than, I think, anything.
Yeah.
Of how you connect back, apologize, so that the pride, the ego is not important as love, connection, and empathy, compassion for each other.
Which circles back to the my feels, right?
Yes.
Wanting to sort of, create that environment for them, and to have that instruction piece with the tools that you're providing, so that, he can gain an understanding of what's going on and can process them as he goes.
Yeah.
Love that.
It's interesting when I've seen a few people from my school. I'm from Russia, from my school, and the person who became the most successful was not the one who got the best grades, who had a gold medal from school, universities, was the person who you just wanted to talk to, hang out with, be with, is the person, in translation, who have a really great developed emotional intelligence, sometimes naturally or sometimes in families. And the knowledge, the math, everything is like you're born with IQ, you pretty much cannot change. You know, to go into university, studies show you have to be just a little bit above average to be successful in. But emotional intelligence is something you can change. And I mean, I'm a manifestation of that from where I've gone through my childhood, from all the challenges I've gone, you know, from living without my parents and seeing them only once or twice a year for, I don't know, 10 years. And then I've witnessed a lot of physical abuse in life as well. And then being where I am today, I wouldn't be if that wouldn't be possible. You know, of understanding, controlling in a sense your emotion. But I don't like using that word because controlling people use it as deny or suppress, but more so having a conversation with your emotions. They are there. I realized my emotions are always there to tell me exactly what to do, because I'm always, what should I do? You know, what's the answer? What's the solution? Well, that emotion, why you're feeling, tells you exactly. You just need to sit down. I'm telling myself, meditate. That's been profound, a life changer. Do you meditate?
Trust me. Yes, definitely. Mindfulness. Just over the last, I think, year or two, I sort of embraced sort of mindfulness, right? And I recognize how important it is to just be mindful, to be attentive, to listen to your body. And I think that's what you're talking about here, that idea of being intuitive and recognizing what you're feeling and what's going on for you in the moment. And then that informs you of what it is that you need and what it is that you need to do, right? It's a new concept.
Do you meditate?
Yeah,
I do. How often?
Oh man, I don't know if I can say a specific date or how much, but I do from time to time. So I have a little bowl, the little bowls, and the singing bowls. I have, like, I'm a Christian, so I read my Bible from time to time. And sometimes I just sit quietly in a space, right, just by myself, writing in a journal. Sometimes I, will just sort of sit and recognize that I have lots of thoughts coming, but this just acknowledge the thoughts.
But
and
see,
just
this
like,
is
you know what,
beautiful.
I'm overwhelmed right now.
Acknowledging, yes. And the thing is, this is profound that we are aware of the thoughts, because one of the ideas that we teach our clients is that actually gain this awareness of thoughts, because we often don't even understand what's going on in our mind, right? But that's the beauty, I think, of meditation. That's exactly what it's doing. I've been meditating during my pregnancy and before getting pregnant, and after loss of pregnancy, I think every day at least 10 minutes for sure. And it became easier and more enjoyable, ecstatic. I would call it even orgasmic, just this whole beautiful level of a connection that I've never had with myself. After giving birth, that went up. No meditation, nothing. And only now, for the last 2 months, I've started to cramp and find time for it, because I realized that what was started happening here is I lost all completely control and charge of the thoughts that I've been getting in my mind. Completely. So much negativity, dark thoughts of, those moments, I'm sure all of the moms are aware, I want to leave everything and just fly out to Mars, and come back when I feel like coming back. Escape somewhere. And slowly going back, and I've realized that, and all of a sudden I've remembered how challenging at first meditation and mindfulness becomes. Because, well, there's so many other things you'd rather do. And then those thoughts, but slowly it gets you get a gist of it. And I invite everyone
It's
do that.
such a good practice, you know. So from what I'm hearing from you, you know, you're leaving us with some tips, right? So you started off with sort of that idea of grounding, right? Like finding ways that you can be in the present moment and checking in with yourself, right? Using the senses that you have to recognize where you are right now in the present moment. And then you talked about gratitude. So, you know, finding thankfulness and the things that you have in life. And that sense of gratitude helps you to be able to, you know, keep going for the next day and the next day and the next day, even though sad times come, right?
Oh, yes.
And then that's the third thing you talked about, sort of embracing the emotions that are there for you.
Sitting in them, feeling in them. And interesting part, I've learned this from a friend of mine who I actually shared with you, with who we did a show on Facebook a while back about relationship. This, what it's called, releasing trauma. The name doesn't, it's not really important as much as the exercise. The thing is, you get yourself feeling certain things. And you try to find a certain place, quiet place. And of course that's not for PTSD of that sort, but you know, you find that little place and you just sit in this feeling and ask yourself what it triggers, what memories from your childhood it brings in. And I remember just recently, let's say, some kind of anxiety and fear, terror came into my body, and that sort of triggered a memory from my childhood when I was alone, about 4 years old, and our drunken neighbor started knocking on the door, thinking that it was his apartment. So I just got scared and everything. So that was traumatic for me. So I was sitting, and sometimes it takes me an hour, which I don't have, and then it interrupts, and that's not a good thing. So that's why it's so important to find actually time to sit, or 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then something will happen. You'll either yawn, sneeze, pass a gas, I don't know, something, and all of a sudden you don't feel it. Like
your body takes you out of that feeling.
I know this is a little sort of similar in idea of maybe tapping or EMDR or something, but you don't need the certification for something that you can, the stress level that we experience daily. You don't need to go and spend money, let's say, on a counselor if that something is manageable for you at home. That's just so profound.
Exercise sounds like something I'd want to try for sure. So you're saying sitting with sort of that emotion
just, and feel
and feeling it.
Cry, do whatever.
Definitely. Well, I will be putting the instructions of that, you know, exercise in the description below. So look for it if this is something that you're wanting to practice at home. So the last thing Karolina, you know, explained to us was mindfulness, and how important mindfulness is to have as a daily practice. Something that, you know, can help you to manage the thoughts that you talked about earlier with CBT, recognizing that thoughts are normal. They come and they go, and realizing that, you know, those thoughts, you don't have to believe all of them.
No.
You know, not all of them are true.
Not all of them. And I think maybe relating for our viewers to children as well, what I do, how I teach my son mindfulness, because what I've encountered is that a lot of parents think I'll wait till they're 15, 12, and then you as I said, you have to start early. And well, how? What I do with my son, I actually already taught him how to do this breathing exercises. So when he cries or goes into tantrum, I then tell him breathe, and I breathe with him. So it's pretty much like, and then, and I've created a little border, like with my hands, so he knows how long it's gonna take to exhale. That I also teach them when he goes to the washroom and poop. So also important not to strain for different reasons, but breathing is very important even when you poop or of that sort as well. Or something very interesting that I was taught by an astrologist of mine a while back, you know, to put on the toilet we have a label, meditation room.
Oh.
And one of the ways you can release and let go of certain things of spiritual, not all those scientific ways, is when you go number one, number two, and I teach my son that as well, is when you do it or sit down, you tell yourself, I'm letting go of everything that doesn't serve me. And your body is so smart in all ways. There's a biological need for it, but there is also a spiritual need for that. And releasing anything that is not serving you is
coming out.
Yeah, it's coming out. And see, those little things are so simple, but I'm sure many people won't do it.
No, some people are going to walk away and you're going to be like, oh, whatever, I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But if you really think about what you're saying there, it could serve so many purposes, right? That idea of letting go, just practicing it on the toilet could be something that you do intuitively later on when something major happens in your life.
In a business meeting where, let's say, you can't really go in and scream into the pillow, do whatever you do to release your emotions.
Yeah. You just take a deep breath.
And imagine
I'm letting go of what doesn't serve me. And right away you realize your body relaxes because it's been practicing that every day on the toilet.
You know what I think we already went over time, but I was been listening to podcasts and where golf players been practicing their hits. And they know how to hit a ball before their brain can register it.
Yes.
So because it's been practiced.
Muscle memory.
Yeah. And prefrontal cortex already is there. It's encoded. And that's what we want. We know exactly what to do before it registers. Many people who protect their children or themselves, things happen in life, they are asked, why did you do it? Pilots saving people on the plane. Like, how did... You don't know. It happens. It's there. So I think that will be a beautiful world to be lived in, where all the goodness, all the strength, all the vulnerability, all the guidance is accessible as a second nature, instead of waiting until we're all adults and then spending money, time, energy on learning something that we could have learned
from childhood.
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody, you've heard it here, right, from Karolina, this new product that she's coming out with called My Feels. We will be putting, all the information in the description below, so you can access it. You can access Karolina as well to ask her any questions about this product. So last thing I'm going to ask you, and again, thank you for being here. How can people reach you? How can they find out more about this product and how this product can serve them?
Well, the website is going to go live soon. It's emotionalintelligenceforkids.com, and pretty much the same hashtag everywhere on Instagram and Facebook as much as well. So just My Feels Emotional Intelligence for Kids, or my own hashtag on, not hashtag, whatever the Instagram,
Instagram handle.
I know all these affiliations. It's like, see, we're already now, in that age where we don't know what it's called. It's Ask Karolina, but you're probably gonna put it all underneath, so you can reach out, ask questions, and if you really loved it, reach out to her, and she'll bring me here again.
Of course, we'd love to have you again, Karolina, for sure. All right,
it's been a pleasure.
Yes. All right, everyone. Well, we were here today with Karolina, and she shared her product, My Feels, with us. Until next time, take care.